Happy New Year, everyone. I am recording this early, but it is, as this goes out, 2024, January 1st. And this is episode 211 of Pencils and Lipstick. I have to record this early because I will be traveling on January 1st, and maybe some of you guys are, but this episode will go out and we're going to actually have pretty short episode. I know right now everyone's probably talking about the New Year's goals and resolutions, possibly your word of the year. And I think all of that is really great. I studied um, goals, motivations, resolutions, all that for a really long time as I transitioned from being a full-time mother to, part-time mother, part-time writer, maybe full-time mother, part-time writer. I don't know, whatever that might be. And I think it's all great. Whatever works for you, honestly. I think what I have moved into is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And I no longer do word of the year um, because not that I have anything against it, but I think that unless you have it really in front of you or a plan on how to make that word prevalent in your life, you forget. Honestly, there are times, that I set goals and I find them really easy to crush and accomplish. Usually the goals that I enjoy the work doing, right? Yeah, I might not be alone there. But when it comes to writing goals, everyone says that you have to have specific goals. So specifically, you might want to finish your book. That's your specific goal. Finish it, right? And then, of course, they say the motivation and then how you're going to do that. And you write it out and you get, like bring it backwards from like big goal down to micro goals and maybe even week to week goals. And honestly, again, that's great. But I think that that works mostly for certain personalities and certain lives. Let's say a friend of mine a couple weeks ago texted me and said, have you ever read On Writing by Stephen King? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired and this is what I need to do and I need to follow his way of doing things. And I wrote back and said, A, here's like he's a guy in which he wrote books, started in the industry at this point 40 years ago. The industry was way different. He is not a full-time mom plus full-time worker plus writer, as my friend is. His job is writing books. And I don't know him personally, but I would venture a guess as to his life structure is probably he works on his books and someone else does the cleaning, the cooking, the laundry, the picking up of the kids, right? So as I am complete opposite to to that idea, I have learned to change my way of thinking of goals, and I encourage others to do this as well. And again, my way might not go, mesh with certain personalities. And if you are like goal oriented and like give me the micro goal every day and I'll crush it and I'll end with my book, you know, done 3 months early, that's awesome. And there's a lot of podcasts out there for um, that strategy. Because that strategy doesn't work for me, that's not really what I talk about. So, and one of the reasons that this strategy doesn't work for me is, as I said, mom with the house and the feeding people who always want to be fed. I don't know why. Like they need me to cook for them because they have homework and they have sports. I'm also driving them to sports. We carpool a few times, but you got to do that give and take. Um, there's just a lot going on. And yes, I choose that for my kid's life and for my life. And so what I have to do is work around it. On like next to that is life things that happen that you can't predict. And you can give yourself buffer room, but there are some things that you just can't predict. Like 2 years ago, when I pulled my back and was flat out for weeks, I still worked, I still did things, but I really didn't do as much as I had wanted to. I had to change my goals, change the way that I was looking at things. This past fall has not gone according to what my ideal was when I planned it out. Um, and so a lot of things have been pushed to quarter 1, and I've had to take a deep breath and push the duology coming out yet again. It was supposed to come out in October, and now the Kickstarter, if I can really work hard in January, and if January goes as it should, the Kickstarter should start at the end of February, which is really exciting and no big deal, right? That's really no big deal, except that it's frustrating and it made me once again rethink my goal setting. So here is my suggestion. I would love to hear your words of the year. I would love to hear your goals. I do think that you should have goals, big, big goals. My biggest goal ever for 2024 is to get the duology out and launched, the workshops run every single month except for July and August, and to finish Crossings Zamora, which that title's going to have to change, and possibly get that out by the end of the year. Major goals, right? At the same time, because I like to write every day, if not like almost every day, I will be working on Claire's story, which will finish up the historical fiction trilogy, and possibly work on the new contemporary series. Those are my big goals. That's what I love to do. When and I have that up on my Kanban board. If you guys don't follow Sarah Cannon and you really like goals, um, she's awesome. It's Heart Breathings on YouTube. Check her out. It's great. I'll put the link in the show notes. Away from that, my number one goal for 2024 is the Kickstarter for the duology. And at that point, I am teaching myself to then take a breath and celebrate. Is it going to be done in the first quarter of 2024? Yes. By the end of March, the Kickstarter will be over and I will be sending out books and, thanking everyone who has supported me and feeling really awesome. And I am going to push myself to celebrate that. Now, being the achiever that I am, I will probably then immediately pivot to the next goal. And that's okay. That's how I am. But that's my big goal, and I'm going to crush it in the first quarter. And guess what? That's a successful year already. I'm trying to teach myself that then that is the big goal already done, not the major one, right? The major one is like finishing the other historical fiction book. If I can get those two done, I am going to force myself to celebrate like champagne style that I did it. So what I am trying to learn to do is find that goal that is partially done, halfway done, and then really celebrate when it is done. Now, I do understand deadlines. I think that those are really great for you. I think that you should set a deadline for your book. If you are starting a book this year and you've never written one before, I would put your goal as finishing the first draft of the book. But let me say, publishing it by the end of the year might be too much because what I'm trying to avoid feeling let down by yourself, right? So you have to think about this and you have to think about how your personality is. Now, let's say like I'm high in achiever, super, super high in achiever. I have high energy. I'm also chaotic creative. Like systems don't work for me. My discipline and my consistency on my Clifford strengths are like the bottom five, like really low. Um, it's a wonder I get anything done that I mostly get this podcast out every week, right? So I do think that you have to sit back and think about your personality. Give yourself a goal, a big goal, a really big goal in which, and then you tell yourself to celebrate. celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. I think more than anything, that is the key to this, is that is how you remember. So here's an example. When I get my Kickstarter together and I hit go, and I already have people there ready and excited and willing to support me in the Kickstarter, I am going to celebrate with my husband by probably taking one of the long hikes that we love to do, maybe bringing a picnic and just patting myself on the back for getting that done. Because if you don't know, Kickstarters are a heck of a lot of work. When the Kickstarter completes and finishes, and even if I don't hit the monetary goal, which I will because there are strategies to that, and we'll talk about that in the new year as I set mine up, I am going to celebrate. I'm going to pick a restaurant that I want to go to. It'll probably be Korean food or Thai food because that's my favorite. And we're going to go out and I'm going to get a funny, fancy drink and I am going to get dessert and I am going to celebrate having completed the entire Kickstarter. Before I have to go back home and start making sure everyone's getting the ebooks and making sure the print books are there and sent out and signed and all that stuff. Because of course work comes afterwards, but I think it's important to celebrate those things that get done, right? And then I guess I could probably celebrate, maybe I don't know how I would when I actually get all the books sent out, because that's a lot of work as well. I want you to realize that also that as your goals come, get less blurry before your eyes as you're probably thinking about them this year, it is true that you should write them down. Now, I find the best way to do that is to make up a Kanban board, and I will, again, the links will be in the show notes, and it's right there. You can't see it, but it's right there, and I can see kind of all the work that I have to do, and then you move it down what you're doing and then what has been accomplished. And that way it's written and it's right before my eyes, the things that I want done in 2024. Um, and since quarter four didn't go great in 2023, it's pretty much the same, the same four. So you definitely need to keep it before your eyes. The other thing that I am going to continue in 2024, in which I will encourage you to do, is to not only keep your goals before your eyes, write it, put it somewhere where you spend a lot of time, to get a journal, whether I prefer handwriting. You could have it digitally, but there is a lot of scientific evidence that handwriting is best. And to to track a good attitude towards your goals. And I do this by practicing gratitude. What am I grateful for that day? Whatever, like, I don't give myself you have to write down three. I try to list out quite a few. And then I encourage myself. And this is the hardest part for me. Gratitude is really easy for me. I can sit down and pop out gratitude. But to encourage myself and write it out is difficult for me. And so I'm going to continue that discipline to do it. Hopefully every day. And this is my goal. It's like my life goal, right? Because I haven't yet accomplished this becoming a daily habit. And what do I mean by that? I mean, after my gratitude, I write down and say, you know what? You can make time to work out 3 days a week. 3 days. Yes. I thought I said 3 days a day. No, 3 days a week. You can um, reduce your sugar intake. That's been one of mine. You can finish setting up your Kickstarter. You can finish 2 chapters this week. Maybe that's one for you. You can, you can, you can. Speaking into myself on what I can do, because the truth is, you can write your book, you can develop your characters, you can figure out your story structure. And sometimes you need to tell yourself that. And so those are going to be my 2 goals this year. A lot of them, no, almost all of them are just recycled into this year, the idea of them anyway. And they are a continuation of trying to continue my authorpreneur journey. Now, I do want to let you guys know, I would love to hear from you on how goal setting works for you. Are you somebody who can just crush it? Like if you tell yourself you're going to write 6 books this year, will you do it? That'd be awesome if you did it, right? But and I would love to hear from you if you're somebody that the word of the year works for you. I would love to hear from you. Um, but I also want to let you guys know that there's other help out there, especially like it's so exciting to set goals the first week, but a lot of us forget them in the second week, and by the end of January, they're completely done with, right? Like it's the running joke that we all join gyms January 1st, and then the gyms are empty by the end of the month, and then we're just, paying for this gym membership that we never use. Go to the gym, everyone. Go move your bodies or go take a walk. But there's going to be a couple really interesting things happening that I can recommend you participate in. So the Be a Bestseller 5.0 by Emma Desi is coming up, and that is going to be focused a lot on the entrepreneur mindset, which I highly encourage you to participate in, to see that, at least sign up to see Emma's interview and when she's talking about her 4 pillars of author mindset. You can find all that information by getting onto Emma Desi's newsletter at emmadesi.com, and I will put that link in the show notes. If you write romance or want to have a love story element to your story, which many books have, I would encourage you to check out Paula Judith Johnson's Summit, which I will tell you more about, and that's going to be in February, in which writers are going to talk to you about how to incorporate romance into your books. If you want just a one-time workshop on romance and love stories, Paula Judith Johnson is going to be teaching my January workshop on January 9th, and I will give you the link in the show notes below. You'll get a special price just for being a listener. And that brings me to the monthly workshops. If you need encouragement to keep your writing going and you want to not just learn everything in one summit, but learn things month to month so that you can incorporate it into your writing in a more consistent and, let's be honest, just accessible way, you can sign up for my monthly workshops, and you can buy them via bundles or you can just buy them individually. And you can find those links on the show notes below. I am right now selling the first quarter workshops, and then there's information on that landing page as well for the second quarter workshops, which I am bringing in Madison Michael, Beth Barani, and Stacy Juba. They're going to be really different workshops, one from the other. One's on book blurbs. One is on a little more focus on the storytelling and setting in science fiction and fantasy. And Stacy Juba has to tell me what she is going to focus on. She has so many things that she can do. So we are going to have some really fun ones. In quarter one, it will be Paula Judith Johnson talking about how to incorporate a love story angle into your story. In February, I will be teaching character alchemy, in which we will sit down together and really go into our character's background to figure out their wants, needs, motivations, and desires. And then in March, I'm bringing back my scene check workshop, which is always my bestseller workshop, in which we'll go over what a scene is, what should each scene incorporate into it. And this is going to help you decide which scenes to delete, which scenes to keep, which scenes to enhance. And then you'll have the option to get a quick edit on a scene that you have for, honestly, very, very cheap. But you only get that if you sign up for the workshop. So I'm really excited about these workshops. I think for anyone a little bit like me, it's a little more doable and less overwhelming to have one thing per month rather than a whole summit, even though I also really like the summits. And so this goes for anyone's personality, whatever works for you guys. Of course, the workshops are recorded and you get access to them if you sign up for them. So this year, I will be continuing my gratitude journal and my encouragement journaling to myself. I will be prioritizing celebrating when I finish one of my goals, and my goals will be setting up the Kickstarter for the Bended Duology, accomplishing the Kickstarter for the Benda duology. And I would really like to add in there the Crossing Thamora book. I would really like to finish that. And can we say possibly publish it? But now I'm getting ahead of myself because that's what I do. I don't mind giving myself these big goals, and then if I don't reach them, it's okay with me. But that's definitely just me sometimes. Sometimes other people, it really affects. So I would encourage you to check the links below. I would really love to hear from you about how you feel about New Year's resolutions, writing goals, words of the year, whatever like works best for you. Maybe you're just trying them out now. Maybe you've completely discarded them and like are just sticking to an agenda. I don't know. How's it working out for you? Let me know. I'm on Twitter or X at Pencils&Lipstick. I'm on Instagram at catcaldwell.author and Pencils and Lipstick all spelled out. You can join my newsletter and just email me back and let me know what you think. And I'm just really excited for 2024 for this podcast as well. We have, starting next week, tons of interviews that I'm so excited for you guys to hear. So be sure to subscribe so that you get the episode downloaded to your phone right when it goes out, because you are not going to want to miss these guests. They have so many awesome things to say. I'm very excited for you guys to hear them. Anyway, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I hope that 2024 is the most prosperous and joyful year for all of us, and I can't wait to experience it together at Pencils and Lipstick Podcast. See you next week.